We are.
It's better now,
No, it's not better. It's bullshit. Really? NATO, Finland, allting.
So,
Sen kommer Turkiet.
well, it's, Lana, you have to realize that it's kind of both. I mean, people could look at what my life is and goes, "Oh, it's so bad. He has no money. He has no food. He has no gas. He can't go anywhere." Well, I'm in a beautiful place. Why would I want to go anywhere, right? And the dandelions are coming up. I'm living on dandelions, and man, it's amazing. Who knew? I can't afford my medicines, but I've been eating dandelion and burdock pretty much predominantly for the last 3 weeks, and my blood sugar is 90, and my blood pressure is now 118 over 57. Whereas my blood sugar used to be about what? That's because I'm.
Do you have that?
No, I have no medicine whatsoever.
I know, but I could send you over that shit.
No. But I'm telling you, listen to what I'm saying. Because I couldn't afford it and I haven't taken it in 3 weeks, I have been just eating dandelions and burdock and other things out of the forest. And my blood sugar is 90. 90. More better than it has ever been before when I was taking, way better, And my blood pressure, which was, around 157 over 80, is now 118 over 53.
That's good.
No shit, it's good. Yeah, so people could go, "Oh my God, he can't afford his medicines. It's terrible." No, I'm feeling much better, And I've lost a good 5 pounds, so I'm really getting to look. Women are looking at me and smiling,
That's perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect.
You know what? I heard
It's love in the air.
Yeah, love is in the air.
Yes.
So you can either look at the glass half full or half empty, right? And I'm seeing it's okay.
Yeah.
And the shit going on around the world, the silver lining to that is that it's getting everyone to wake up. So
what's real?
Yeah, so what's real?
What's important?
Yeah, what's important? So
what do you want?
Right, exactly. And most people don't do that. I mean, and the rich people who were bothering me around here, they've all left because they got bored. They couldn't just enjoy the beauty of the lake and the forest.
Handle pressure.
Yep. So. I'm holding. I'm holding my beard. I got my beard.
So.
Yes.
Can you see us?
No. I just let me. That I see myself. All I see is me.
Glasses. Good glasses. Is it? I never seen that before.
Oh yeah, I'm turning into a robot. These are.
Is it for the props?
Well, these are like Ben Franklin glasses. These are glasses that you use to fix jewelry, and this is what I have to wear to see, just to read. My eyes for seeing far away are pretty good, so I can drive. But to read and stuff, I have to wear these. Look at it. This is what they look like. It's,
right. Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
But can you see us, right?
No, I don't know why. No, I can't see you. Let's see.
You can see that from me.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Now my camera, I can see me on the camera. I don't see you.
That is important.
Right. Then you have to do this, maybe. You have to put on your camera.
I have my camera. I mean, you're seeing me. Do you have your camera on?
Yeah. Just look like a pop star,
Yeah. Well, hey, that's me, buddy.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, I know, baby.
That's what I'm talking about.
I love you, baby. Fucking love you.
Yes, yes, yes. And so it's all good.
Yeah.
You know, I'm waiting for someone to come and get me and take me away. And there are a few people who might do that. Well, just a road trip. I would love a road trip. You know.
Road trip or the boat or what you want to do? A road trip
You know,
with the car?
well, someone come and get me, and we, you know, there's a thing called a rainbow gathering, right? Did you ever hear rainbow gatherings?
No, you can explain this.
Oh, it's like Woodstock. It came out of Woodstock, you know, and
Okay.
when Woodstock happened, they expected 20,000 people to come to the concert, and 500,000 showed up, and they were not prepared for that.
Oh my God.
And so this guy named Stephen Gangston in Tennessee, he had a big commune, and he came up with food and medical supplies, and he took care of everyone. And that's why no one died. That's why Woodstock was really great, and da 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 da. And then he went back to Tennessee, and I went back with him with a bunch of other people, and we saw how they had this amazing commune. It's in Tennessee, and and it wasn't a religious commune. It was just people who didn't want to fuck with the world, and they made their own little world. So we decided. Then we took a road trip to the west, to California, and we stopped in New Mexico, and I saw my teacher, my mentor, Grandfather David the Hopi, and he was telling us that we had to do something different than what the white people are doing. Even though we're white, we had to do something different. And so we started doing these gatherings in the national forest called rainbow gatherings, and this year will be the 50th anniversary.
Wow.
Yes.
That's many years.
That's big.
So and
That's fucking big.
and when we first started, it would be like 300 or 400 people, but within 4 or 5 years, we were having 20,000 people. And so and it was out in the middle of the woods, meaning there was no contact with the modern world. And so it was kind of fun to build your own city in 3 weeks, and then have everyone have a good time, feed everyone, healthcare, daycare, you name it, You guys still there? You disappeared. You still there, Lana? Woohoo. Anyway, so here we are. So that's a rainbow gathering, right? And so this year is going to be the 50th anniversary, and it's going to be in Colorado. And if you go on the internet, boy, the Rainbow Kids really are super duper, social media. So they're all over the place, and YouTube has millions and millions of hours of rainbow gatherings, so you can see what it is. Check it out. Right? Let's see. You guys are chatting, so let's see who's there. Oh, Lana's there. She's back. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, there you are. Oh, there I am. There you are. Here I am. You look like a movie star, girlfriend.
Yeah, she's a movie star.
Yeah.
She's Brad Pitt,
Not
Brad Pitt, was Angelina Jolie.
Yes. You're a good influence on her. You're a good influence on her.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Yes, he is.
No, you are. You are. She's glowing. She's glowing.
Yes, she's glowing. Me too. I'm glowing too.
You're glowing. Yes, you're glowing too. Yep. Yep.
And they can be a bitch sometimes.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
who-
my middle name.
Come on, we're all a bitch sometimes. Come on. There's nobody who's
But
not a bitch.
sometimes-
I don't know anybody who's not a
Yeah,
bitch.
everybody has a bitch. Sometimes.
Right. So let's see what the kids are chatting. Good to hear. Great blood cleanser. Yep. Let's see. Somebody's chatting, so I'm reading what they're chatting. Rainbow and love.
Nice.
Yep. So, what do you guys? If the world doesn't blow up, what are you guys doing for the summer? Or you just keep doing what you're doing? And you're already on vacation. You don't need to go anywhere, right?
No, really not, but I have to.
She's going to Costa Albania again.
Oh, I'll tell them.
I'm not for. Yeah, I'm always stuck.
How's Albania? How's Albania doing?
She's going to Albania to see her relatives and operation.
Right. Yep.
So, and I'm going to the island outside Stockholm. Gotland.
Yeah.
To visit my mother.
Yep.
So,
So do you guys
So I'm thinking of this going out of Sweden.
Uh-huh.
me too. Because Russell is coming to get Gotland. It's a big risk to go to Gotland. You know?
Yes.
Outside Stockholm.
I don't know. Gothenburg. I love Gothenburg. I think that's my favorite city in Sweden.
It is, isn't it?
Yes, it's my favorite. It's
You never been in Gotland before, or what?
Oh yeah, I lived there. I lived in Sweden for a year. Yeah. In the 70s. No, right near you. Right in a little town called Forshuga, but it's right near you. It's right on the main road.
Jönköping.
Yes.
I told you 1,000 times. Jönköping, there. My brother lives there.
Right. I come on, you guys got to know that I can't pronounce anything. I have no teeth. Right. So can you still go to Stockholm and have a go anywhere on the government's nickel? Do they still give everyone a vacation in Sweden?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, it's okay.
So that's why I was in Sweden for a year. It's because I found that the government gave everyone a holiday, and so many people were so neurotic they wouldn't get on the airplane. And if you were willing to get on the airplane, you could take their place. And
Okay, nice.
yes, so that's what I did for a year in Sweden.
That's fucked up. That's fucked up.
För helvete, vadå? Vad sa du? Jag vet för ett år sedan.
Jag vet det. Jag har hört den här historien
Ja,
innan.
men
Så,
woman.
ja.
För det är det.
So, Honeyban, how long are you going to stay in Albania?
9 days.
9 days.
9 days from me is hell, you know.
Oh, yeah. See, but you'll be playing golf. You'll be playing golf.
No, I'm not playing golf. It's so positive. I like it, you know. Positive. Very positive. Oh my god.
Okay, you can stay home, clean the house, and make cookies. You know.
I don't make it good because I'm going to clean the damn apartment, you
I
know.
love you, Bob.
Yes, I love you guys too.
And you know what? This dude over here, this one,
Yes, that one. Yep.
he's a good one.
I'm okay.
No, he's a good one.
I'm a good one when I sleep, you know.
Right.
No, he's a good one. And no matter what happens, I will wish you the best.
Well,
Always.
yes, I've applied to get my passport. You've motivated me to get a passport.
Yeah.
So I'm in the process of getting a passport, and that's phase 1.
So come to freedom.
That's what I'm saying. That's phase 1. You know.
Yeah, let's do this shit then.
Yeah. I'm up for it. You know. So I'm getting the passport and getting my birth certificate, and I've got the paperwork in. I'm just waiting for the bureaucracy to catch up. So yeah, that's what I'm up to.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
From Sweden.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yes. Yeah. So I'll get on. I'll get on the social safety net.
Yes.
Yes. I'll tell them that I'm a little black boy from Syria. Yep. I said I'll tell them I'm a little black boy from Syria.
Please don't do that. Oh.
No, I'll tell them I'm a Ukrainian. That's it. I'm white. I'm Ukrainian. You'll love me. I'm Ukrainian.
Everything's free here in Sweden.
Yes. Well, nothing's free, but it's at least it's more attractive. It's more attractive. It's more attractive.
If something is free, it's not good.
But it's not. No, come on. Nothing's free in Sweden. It's not sweet. No. It's not free.
People like to help other people.
Right.
That's free,
Really?
Well, it's all relative because nothing is free. Because there's a cost within your heart, within your soul, within your spirit, within your pocketbook. So nothing's free. No. So what's on your schedule? So it's the nighttime there almost, right? It's like getting to late afternoon.
It's 7 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right. So you kids going out for a walk, or are you going to the movies? What are you planning to do?
She does not walk.
She likes to walk all the time. She's like
Well, that's good. Walking is good. I walk all the time. That's why I'm alive.
walking is good sometimes, not every time. It's not every day. You don't walk every day.
Oh, you should walk three or four times a day. It gets
Oh my gosh! If I walk, I'm like Lewis. I'm faster than him. I have to walk 4 times a day. Lewis, Congress.
Yes. Right. Well, it gets your blood moving, gets your blood moving. It's, raises your testosterone level and gets you ready for sex.
There's something that somebody should know too,
I mean, that's why she's walking around. She wants sex, so she's, walking around, So have you guys adopted the Swedish anal retentive uptight attitude?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I'm more ghetto than him.
Yes.
He's more Swedish than
Okay.
me.
Yeah.
Much more than me. Whatever. So anyway.
Yes. Okay, so you're a ghetto girl, and he's Finn. What is your Swedish nickname for him?
Yes, Rolf.
Rolf.
Rolf. Okay, I can.
Or his, really? How the fuck should I have? Jag kan inte
Rolf. So Rolf, what do you call her? What's your nickname? Do you call her ghetto girl? What do you call her?
Nej, håll den nu. Det är inte här.
I call her Lana, my love.
Lana, your love. Yes, that's good. Yes, good. Very good.
Yeah.
Nej,
But then it depends in the mood,
Uh-huh.
No, she's saying good words in her day,
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
But she's a good girl.
oh, she's not good. She's the best. She's the best. If you're in a foxhole, buddy, you want that girl in the foxhole with you.
Yeah.
Yep. And you were a
Do you see
lucky,
this picture?
you were a lucky chap to find that girl.
I'm very lucky.
Yep.
Yeah,
Very lucky.
you should not have that.
I'm very lucky.
That's my nickname for.
Sometimes
That's my nickname for you. Is the lucky guy. LG.
Lucky guy.
Yes, I'm calling you LG from now on. Yeah, you're LG.
Okay, LG.
Yes, LG. The lucky guy.
So what to do, you know?
Okay, kids, I'm gonna let you go.
I smoke.
I'm gonna let you go.
Oh,
Uh,
I love you.
I love you too. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Boop 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 boop. There we go. So that's that was Lana. Lana was with us, right? And that was fun. It's always a chuckle to talk to her. That's her new boyfriend of probably 2 months, and it's totally changed her. She's actually happy now. You know? She doesn't want to just kill everyone, but she's still the ghetto girl, you know. And let's see, movie star Lana. Oh well, have you been to Burning Man? Yes, been to Burning Man. Matter of fact, I knew the guy. There's everything that's ever been done was done by women, right? And way back in the day, in New York, I had taken over abandoned buildings and doing all kinds of stuff. Let's see. Oh. Show you pictures, you know. So this was Universal Peace Day, you know. But where is oh, here's an interesting picture. So this is in 1984. Chemtrails in 1984. You know, no one. Oh no, it's a contrast from commercial jetliners. Yeah, really, the jet airliners fly like this. You know. Let's see, where is? I mean, so this was, you know, so what is this? Can't even see. There we go. At Universal Peace Day, we did that. That's in the Central Park, right across from Strawberry Fields. That's me and Dave. We and about 12 other people, well, maybe 20 people, took over 50 abandoned buildings, housed 500 homeless families. I put legal electricity in all of them, so those people still own their apartments. Right? So here's my burned out apartment, and this is it. Maybe a week. I mean, when I got in there, it was just piles of burned out shit. And I've cleaned it out, and I'm starting to build it out and fix it up, and I turned it into a very snazzy, sheetrock walls here. I hung ceiling there, but you can see it's like burnt to a crisp up here, and the walls over here burnt to a crisp, and this was the swinging hotspot, right? And there's Jerry, one of my godsons. Agnes, she was a saint. She's another one of my goddaughters. Joni Freedom, a whatever in her own mind. And this guy is Yost. He's a Mossad assassin who tried to kill me, and then we became best buddies. Here's Michael. He's an entity unto himself. So anyway, all of these people would come, this confluence of art, culture, all kinds of things would come through. And I would be the person, people would kind of get stuck in whatever they were doing, their job or their art or their this or their that. Me, life was life. And so when something interesting took me away, I would, that's why I lived in Europe and why, for 7 years, why I lived in Asia for 3, why I lived in Australia for 3, why I, so, And it was like, and I come back to New York, and it was like I never left the place, you know. So there was one of my goddaughters. I didn't find what was her name? Deb Lee. She was one of the. She was like more Joan Jett got her look from Deb Lee. You know, she was off the cuff. You know, she was a motorcycle. You know, she was part of the Hell's Angels, not as a bitch, but as the leader of the pack. You know. Anyway, we got to be friends, and I need a place to stay. I got her whole floor in a burned out building, and then she could strip a gun, she could strip a flat top motorcycle engine, but hammer and screwdriver and so put her to work. I told her to be an electrician, and she loved electricity. She just loved it, right? And so she was my helper, and then she was one of my mechanics, and I was teaching at City College how to be an electrician. I was doing, and I got her a job to be my helper, and she turned out to be far better teacher of that, because I'm a really great teacher if we're working on a job and it's like in front of me. But in a classroom, she was really good at that. So she worked for me, and she worked for the City College, and she did other stuff for them too. And so she got a degree there, right, in engineering, and she got into robots, because I was working for John Hopkins, and she's my helper. She's with me, and I turn around, where is she? And she's on another floor, and she's playing with these robots, and they had these little teeny weeny. They were like little babies, and over the years, she's become a super duper robot girl, right? And I don't know if any of you guys ever saw this on TV, but on cable, there was a show called Robot Wars, right? Or Battle Bots, I think that's what. And she did it, you know. So she, after she did everything she wanted to do in New York, and she went to California. She got a gig after she got her degree, and John Hopkins said, "Oh, you're a robot girl. You need to go to." Because satellites are just, space robots. And then she's, when she takes her leather jacket off, and she's a really pretty woman, and so people started saying that. So she got into the like TV end of it, and they wanted her to, like, she was an extra. She did this, and she would make $300 a day for just sitting around doing nothing. Then she got into because she had worked with me, and I was part of NABITH, and I turned her on to some people in LA, and she got a job at NABITH, and so she got into making movies. She didn't really. I mean, they were saying, "You're so pretty, you should be in front of the camera." No, she wanted to. She really liked lighting. I taught her lighting, and so she got into that, and she got into NABITH, and so anyway, she's working on TV shows, and she meets this person, and they go to, they kind of spark, and she's got this kind of, you know, factory building warehouse in LA, in the crappy neighborhood. She's paying, like, I don't know, a couple $100 for 20,000 square feet. Building's falling apart, and she's building robots. Right? This guy is a TV producer, and she's got these robots, and there's autonomous, meaning she just hits. Well, she doesn't have a joystick. Hits, run, and they go after each other, right? And then she can stop them. She had a big red button, hits stop, and so the guy was like, "That's amazing," and he wants to do a TV show, so they do, BattleBots, right? And he makes her a co-executive producer of this show, and I think it's either Sci-Fi or one of those channels picked it up, and for a good 6-7 years, she was making serious money out of this, and she was still working for Goddard, making all kinds of crazy space robots. And then she, you need to come to California. I said, I'm not going to California. I'm like Woody Allen in California. I lived there a couple of times with my California wife, and worked there a couple of times. And no, oh man, you're so California, you're so laid back, man. This should be your town. No, I hated the place, right? But I love Deb Lee, so I said, okay, you buy me a ticket, I'll go. So I did, and we did that, and she showed me her warehouse and her production company, and she was making all kinds of gizmos for the movie industry, and she was doing hot shit, right? And her producer boyfriend, who was kind of a lot older than she was, they did that, and then he still just became her good friend and partner, and she was like his golden goose. And but she was, down. Everything she did, it's like me. Everything I do, I'm an artist in the first person, right? So she's like, an Aboriginal artist. That's me, So anyway, she met this crew of guys and gals who were like bohemians, and I would tell her stories when we were working, and I told her my bohemian stories, and she ran into these guys. They're like bohemians. Al told me they're bohemians, and they said, well, they didn't know what it was, but they were that. So anyway, she became part of that tribe, and there's this one guy, I forget his name, but he was like self-important, blah blah blah. It's all about me. And they did Burning Man, and he took the credit. I forget his name. So about the fifth Burning Man, because I took her to a rainbow gathering once, and that's where she had the idea for Burning Man. But they only had deserts. They didn't have. I mean, they have national parks, and they wanted to do their own thing. So I kept telling her national forest is great. They can't tell you what to do. And anyway, but she wanted to do it on private property so she could charge. Blah blah blah. Anyway, so I went to a Burning Man, and what better um, person to go to the Burning Man event than the person who started it, and she had built herself. I told her about my experience in New Mexico with this Italian architect, where we made what he called earth ships, and he had a backhoe, and we would dig it out, and we would go get tires, and we would line the wall with it and cover it with dirt, and then another thing of tires. And tires were great. We started with gigantic, like tractor tires, and then go to tractor trailer tires, and then car tires, and we could make a dome of tires. Right? We'd have skylights in there, and we would cover it all up in earth, and so that house would be toasty woasty in the winter, and a cool in the summer. And we were out in the middle of nowhere. We had photovoltaics, but we had no juice to make heat or air conditioning. But we didn't need it, right? And we had a condenser where deep in the earth, and it was condensing the moisture into water. So there was no water out there, but we would get 10, 15 gallons um, a day of water, and we made our own compost toilet. And anyway, I used to tell her stories about that. So that's what she did. At Burning Man, she built herself a nice, off away from the crowd. Really, it was like a hobbit castle. It was beautiful. And so I went to Burning Man once, and it was okay. Once was okay. It was great to be with her. She was the queen. Everyone bowed to her, kissed her ring, and and we didn't have to pay for anything. But see, it's Burning Man. Pretty much you have to pay for everything. It's pretty. Whereas a rainbow gathering, everything's free. But a lot of and as I was trying to describe to Lada, that nothing's free, right? So rainbow. So guys, if you're in Colorado, rainbow gathering this year, 50th anniversary, and I may be there. If somebody comes and gets me. So anybody like in New England or New York City or the Northeast or Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, any of those places that you'd have to pass by me to go to the gathering. Get me, come and get me, and you'd have to come get me in June. And June is going to be relatively soon. Like in next week is going to be June, and it would be great to be able to get to the gathering by June 10th and stay there until July 10th or 15th. That would be the quintessential, because you'd be there for seed camp, and about 20,000 people show up to a rainbow gathering. And the rainbow gathering's out in the national forest. It's not in any. There is nothing there except trees, right? And then we build a city for 20,000 people. Water, septic, food, transportation, daycare, school. And so it's quite interesting. And back in the day, in the beginning, instead of 20,000 people, the first few there were maybe 300, 400, 500, but we would walk deep into the forest, so the cops wouldn't show up. Right? Cops don't show up unless they can drive there. And so the gatherings today are near roads, because they have a thing called the bus village. People live in buses, and handicapped people. So it's closer to, and it makes it a lot easier. You got 20,000 people. That's a lot of food. So it's because we used to just sprout. Just do sprouts. That's what we did. We didn't bring anything. What in the first 10 years, it's whatever you could carry in. Right. So that's how I got into hammock camping. I'd have a hammock. I'd have 2 joint compound buckets that had lids that made them watertight. And I had, dry socks. I'd buy a bag, 12 brand new socks in a plastic bag that would go in there. I would go buy some shorts and some t-shirts that would go in there. And I would have 5 pounds of sprouts, which would make, little teeny wee sprouts. And then you put it in that joint compound bucket, and, a handful of, or not even, like a coffee cup of sprouts in there would fill that joint compost, in 2 days with yummy sprouts, right? So that's kind of what I ate, sprouts, and then whatever was in the woods, right? And so I have 2 joint compound buckets, right? And I have my socks and my shorts and the t-shirts and flashlights and a few other things in my medical bag, and my hammock and a tarp and sprouts and my cup and my spoon and my walking stick. And I had a mall. And I had this great mall. And the mall was a double-edged fireman's axe. And on the other was like a pick and a scoop, right? And it was on a steel like crowbar, right? And so you could, it was about 5 feet long, and you could put one, joint compound thing on one and one on the other. And I had a big chunk of refrigeration foam on it, and I would just put it right on my back. And that foam would be nice and fluffy on my back, so the weight wouldn't be too much, and I could walk for miles with that, right? And so that was, I had no car. That was my my rainbow rig. Right? So yes, I went to Burning Man, and it's she'd send me all kinds of videos year after year after year, and it always seemed to be the same thing. And it cost money, and people were all about themselves, me, me, me. Whereas the Rainbow Gathering really was about we. Not the fact that pretty much everyone was me, me, me. I mean, that's our big problem in this world, right? Is that, right? So, back in Virginia, where I was myself, haven't been back now. I was there for January and February, but I hadn't been there for 2 years, right? And so I got a lot of things started, inspired lots of people, blah blah blah, and there's wherever you go, there's always an interesting art scene, interesting culture scene. You just gotta look for it. Right?
It is not changed by us. It is available.
Right.
What does change is our recognition. When we are focused on I, them, and us, we may not recall that natural luminous state, and we may be repeating the patterns that create shadows, sorrow, disruption of life. When we think of the tree, it is a living being. As the forest becomes ill, some of the older trees may sacrifice themselves, that the younger trees may have nutrients. You may say, well, how does a tree have this sense of awareness? Because it feels the vibration of life and recognizes when certain elements are no longer available.
I've known her for 20
Like
years.
there's no more. There is more acid in the air.
Listen to her talk.
And this has an impact on the ability of the tree to draw elements in and to maintain its sacred life. When the forest becomes out of balance, some of the older, wise trees make a decision that they will return their wisdom, their skill, and the elements into the forest floor so that the new beings may be reborn. Now, are they conscious of compassion? Many people who live in the forest recognize, yes, the trees are conscious.
Yes, no kidding. Yes. Everything in the forest is conscious.
So, anyway, I love the way she talks.
Well, there you go. I mean, you just laid it down quite nicely. So why can't you do that in front of a audience?
That would be cool.
Well, just practice it. I mean, I speak to people all the time, and it's, whether it's 3 people or 1,000 people, it's the same because I keep, telling stories and I've been doing it for years. So, you just keep, I mean, that was beautiful what you just said. Pick some more up. So what else are you?
Well, I would have to get permission from Gianni, but.
Well, you just said it in your own way.
Yeah, well, then I started reading directly from her because I do like the way she talks.
Well, then practice. Meaning, I write all these novels. I can outline it. Yes, in my own right. Way, but I mean, all of them. I'm like James Joyce. James Joyce called himself a cut and paste man. He would just cut shit out of the newspapers, out of books, and then paste them into other books, and then rewrite his stuff from that. Right. And that's exactly what you just did. And everyone called it art when he did it, I mean...
Well, when you find a voice that speaks to you, it is lovely and great just to quote. I mean, it doesn't matter to me where it comes from, just as long as the people hear it.
Right. Well, that's all you got to do. There's a guy named Chris Hedgens. He's one of my favorite writers and philosophers at this present time.
Oh, get them to read it. Get him to read it.
Chris?
Were you? Oh, I was thinking you might be giving me a break and telling me about some wonderful orator.
I am Chris Hedgens, but he has a encyclopedic mind.
This is better for probably a woman, maybe voice, maybe.
Yes. But the way he describes things politically, socially, economically, environmentally, he's constantly quoting everybody else, right? And so you don't have to have like I said, the stuff I write, it's other people's stuff that I read because I got piles of books around me. And look at this one. Oh, just read this one. Okay.
For many of us, the white pine tree is symbol of transmutation. In the teachings of many of the woodland people, their weapons of war were buried at the white pine tree.
Uh-huh.
Why? Because the white pine transforms, and it has many types of medicine. The sap, which in a sense can be its offering, tears and medicine from the sap, those thought forms that occlude the clear breath of realization are transformed through the oil of the pine. Oil from the pine, I see it as a relationship to the channels that drops within our bodies everywhere we look. I see the expression of the teachings that have been shared with us. The tree in its generation of sap and its communication with the sky and many beings is also generating medicine.
Uh-huh.
The medicine is a compassionate offering. Through the pulses of the tree's breath and exhalation, There are messages sent throughout the world, even beneath the sea. There are certain animals like deep sea turtles and whales that pick up on the pulses of the trees and convey that information to one another. Many people perceive from the wisdom of the truth a path to walk, a path of transformation. The turtle's back has been a calendar. It is also a medicine. It is a reminder that our solid form is supported by the gift of the myriad beings who have arisen from deep within the earth. When the Holy Mother was looking in her father's garden, it goes on and on and on and on.
I mean, you can read that to people. Meaning, I read, on my YouTube, I read tons of books every day, right?
Right.
And so that's my sweet Polly, and she's a great artist, well known. She comes from a long family of artists, and she doesn't have to worry about paying the rent, so she takes it upon. Anyway, so but she's amazingly eloquent, and she really, as an artist, sculptor, painter, and her other art form, I've known her so long. She's an activist, and that's what drew me to her when I first met her. And I'm an artist activist, so we were a great team, right? Dynamic duo. And so for years, and she came from Roanoke, and that neck of the woods, not the city per se, but the neck of the woods, between Blacksburg and there. And so she's like the Energizer Bunny, and she's not my I'm probably about 15 years older than she is, but so I'm in my 70s, so she's in her 60s. But when I met her, she was in her 40s, and there was no one like her. She has two sisters that are they're a little more, they're not as full gun as she is, and what I love about Polly, she has no ego, and she can get pissed off, but nothing is about her. That's she could call that her own, but no, she gives credit to everything, all her art, or sculpture, everything. She kind of channels, and she's always saying, "Oh, it's not me." I mean, it's her hands doing it, it's her mouth, and that's what we have to realize is that there are many things that make us up, and that's my days as a shrink boy. I would and I hated it because we the whole the discipline of the art of psychotherapy is a brilliant thing, right? And that's what I was, right? I was an artist psychotherapist, right? But they turned it into a business, right? So it's you know everyone has to be assessed and given drugs, and no, because all you have to do is get people into all of good health. Me, as I was telling Lana, she said, "You have your drugs?" I said, "No." And so, well, soon I said, "No, I don't," because Lana's, in the medical scene. And I said, "No, no, 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 just you know." And I tried to explain to her that I was eating, I've changed my diet, since I can't afford to go to the supermarket and buy stuff because and America is like in the throes of a depression now. So many people made so much money, um, and put so much money away that they're not really realizing what's going on. But like I say, this time next year, I would give odds of 60% that 1 billion people will have starved to death because there's already 400 million people that are in what do they call it? Food danger or food. It's like They're already starving to death. They're just not dead. They're all skin and bones. The little babies have these extended bellies. And what's really sick is that when I was in the back in the day, when I was in the UN, and I was, had this NGO called Alternative Technologies. Famine and bad drinking water were the two big problems of third world, right? And I was a nutritionist, so I worked on technology. But there was a crew in UNICEF that came up with this great thing. It was basically peanut butter with all these vitamins and nutrients. And you just gave a jar of that to a kid who was like skin and bones. And within 2 weeks, just that one jar would make him okay. I mean, it's not like a lot of money. It's not like a big deal. It's not like they couldn't feed everyone. They could. They want those people to die. So there's about 400 million people between Yemen and Afghanistan and about 100 other places. These people are next to dead, and with you know third of all of the grains in the world being stopped, and that's the main reason why this war is going on. It's to be a disruptor of the same of the world that they don't want anymore. And so we are watching this. It's like it's watching a car crash in slow motion. So we're gonna see this happen. It's going down. It's weather, and see, I have a firm feeling that see, I didn't use the word believe. I said a firm feeling that sometime between 4th of July and Halloween, aliens are going to land and say, okay, 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 here we are. We're back. We're your parents. We left for just a little while, and boy, you fucked it up. We let you try and see what you could do. And so we're coming back and we're going to help. We're going to take care of the pollution that you did. We're going to take care of the wars, get rid of those. We're going to give you an energy source that you won't have to, kill the planet with. And we're going to show you how not to have to live with money, that you can live really comfortably, and you can be yourself, instead of having, living on a prison planet of employment. Because you look at Jeffy Bezos or Elon Musk, they don't look happy. Rich, 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 rich. Not very. I mean, I work for really super rich people. I didn't meet a happy one of them, right? So, oh, uh, so I want to thank you guys for, let's see how much money I have in my little purse. This is it. 25 cents. Oops, I dropped a penny. 25 cents. 50 cents. So 51 cents to last me 2 weeks. That's why I'm not going anywhere. That's why I'm eating, um, dandelions. Right? But, you know, that's a good thing because that has brought my blood sugar to ridiculously, not ridiculous, but really healthy. Instead of being 150, it's 90. Instead of my blood pressure being, you know, 158 over 8, it's 118 over 53. And so I have to be very grateful that I'm and you know oh, let's see, 2014. How many years ago was that? Well, it's not even 10, right? It's 2022, so 8 years ago. You know, I was I was Mr. Hedonist, and so I had lots of houses and buildings and this and that, everything, every which way, and I didn't have to work, and And then I died. And to get any kind of health care, I had to get rid of everything. I had to be really poor. In America, you have to be really poor, and you have to almost be a doctor because you have to know what they're doing. You have to know what medicines they want to give you. You have to find a doctor that will work with you, right? And the first doctor I got, so I'm going to give you metformin. I said, I don't, I tried and I said, I can't take this shit. It's going to kill me. No, I'm the doctor. I know it's good for you. I said, no, you don't. I know it's, and he was like, really, when I said he didn't know what was good for me. I said, no, you don't have my body. You don't know what I feel. You can't understand any of the shit I'm going through. So no, sorry. Um, that's not true. So it took me 5 doctors till I found this one. I had to have a group of doctors. I had an endocrinologist. I had to have a bone doctor. I had to have a muscle doctor. I had to have a diabetic doctor, and I had a GP. Right, I had to have 5 doctors. Right, and they all had to be special in that they had to want to. Um, I was a job. They were interested in me. They cared about me, and I took care of them. They told me all their problems. I, gave them strategies how to have a better life, and I did too good a job because most of those guys quit being doctors and became farmers and artists and what they always wanted to really do. Right? I still go visit them, and they still kind of take care of me. So I'm very grateful because I steered away from because you are not your body. You know this little body of mine is not me. This is an avatar for me to experience all these things. So I've the last few weeks, I'm just sitting in my hammock thinking about things. And when you get to my age, I can see my mortality. I mean, I died in 2014. I was ready to go then, right? But they said, no, 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 you got to go back. You haven't finished. And I said, what? I'm tired. I don't want to do that. And they said, well, no, well, you're right. You can die now, but you've done such a great job up until now. You still have about 15-20% to go to do, and then you can move on. You can, not have to be thrown into the wearing blend of karma and spat out as some other monkeypox boy, right? So that's, and so I said, okay, okay. And when I came back, I was like about to have a quadruple bypass and they're about to cut my legs off. I said, no, no. I mean, and those guys, I had so much fentanyl in me, they couldn't believe I woke up. I mean, I was on a gurney being wheeled into the operating room and I just kind of sat straight. Where am I? What are you doing? And everyone freaked out. They ran away. The doctor, who's the drug doctor, he couldn't leave my side. So I said, I can't believe you woke up. I'm going to have to hit you with twice as much fentanyl. And I said, no, 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 no. I said, I'm not going in there. I said, where am I? And he said, oh, you're about to have a quadruple bypass and we're going to cut your legs off. I said, no. Bring me. I said, was I in the ICU? Yeah, we were there for a few days. We got you stabilized and we're not going to operate. I said, no, get me back in there and get me back out. Oh, you mean your lawyer? I said, no, he's not my lawyer. He does not have power of attorney. He is my client. I'm working for him. And he's desperate for me to finish my job. And that's why he gave me the permission to do it. And he's got the money to pay for it. So you greedy motherfucker. So you're gonna get 300,000 and kill me. No, blow me back there. So he did. The guy said, "You're awake." Oh wow. I said, "Yes." You gotta let me go to your house down in the Keys. I need a colonic person. I need a nutritionist. I need an endocrinologist. An acupuncturist. I give him a whole list of things. And to his credit, and not just for the day, they stayed there for 2 weeks. So I was in this really beautiful place in the Florida Keys on its own peninsula with its own servants, and they were making me, vegetable soups and fruit cocktails, fresh fruit. And I was getting a colonic 2 and 3 times a day. I was getting acupuncture. I was, so in 2 weeks, I was kind of, not dead, and I still weighed, almost 600 pounds, but I was, my metabolism was changing, right? So I went and did what he wanted me to do. I got the contract finished, And then I have to say that he was a righteous guy because he let me spend the rest of the winter in his really groovy doovy place, and he kept those that staff online for me for another couple of weeks, and they liked it so much that they moved their practices down there. So it was, so that's why I'm alive. Right, I had about 4 months of unbelievable care and no operations. And so. And by the end of that 4 months, I had lost, 50 pounds. And then I just kept losing weight. And over the last 8 years, I lost 240 pounds. That's why I'm alive and I'm in pretty good shape and I can get around and my physicalness is getting better and better. Now, I had 20 to 15% of what was left of my soul contract. And so I'm here and so I was fine. I was getting by 2019. I was in pretty good shape. I was taking care of other people, right? And I had things kind of lined up pretty good. And I didn't have any work, didn't have any money, but I was here, and I thought something would come around, and that would be my next project. But then the COVID came, and I kind of got stuck here even more. And so I have another 15 years, give or take, and that's a long time to you know get a project and do it. So a lot of people want me to come live with them, especially in Europe and Asia. They want me to folks in New Zealand and you know and people in Europe, and so some people in the Philippines. So there is something brewing on the horizon. So the last couple of weeks, I've just been you know sitting on my hammock, meditating on what's next, right? And part of that preparation is to get my body into total ship shape and to get my consciousness into that no fear ship shape and to be gracefully and full of gratitude, right? So that's what I'm gonna look like I'm gonna be doing for the next month or two, right? Getting myself, and then the rest of the summer is something's gonna pick me up and take me someplace, and it'll be because man, there's a lot of things to do, you know. I showed you all those pictures of abandoned buildings and anti-war movements and women's movements and art shows, and there's still all of that to do. Right? That's just the tool. So anyway, I just wanted to touch base with you guys. Say, hey, I haven't talked to you in a while. Maybe tomorrow, because this is my neighbor's Wi-Fi that I'm hanging off of, and yeah, it's only a mile or two. It's not a lot of gasoline. If I have to go to any of the towns, that's 20 to 30, 40 miles in one direction. So that's like quarter of a tank of gas. So anyway, so you can heal yourself completely, but yes. So yes, yeah, I never think of myself as sick. Anyway, I'm gonna sign off here. What time is it? It's what is it? It's- Oh, let's see.
In Ukraine, fierce fighting continues to rage around the besieged industrial city of Severodonetsk, where sustained Russian artillery attacks this week have killed at least 6 civilians. Russian forces are also advancing on the city of Lyman in the southeastern Donetsk region. The war began 3 months ago this week, but there appears to be little progress on peace talks. We're joined now by Patrick Cockburn, award-winning journalist and columnist. He's the former Moscow correspondent for The Independent. Recent piece for Counterpunch headlined, "London and Washington are being propelled by hubris, just as Putin was." Patrick, welcome back to Democracy Now! Explain.
Well, this war began with a tremendous act of hubris, of arrogance by Vladimir Putin. He thought that his newly equipped army, which wasn't very that big, in fact, would be greeted with by the Ukrainian population, that the Ukrainian government would collapse, that the Ukrainian army would surrender. And we all know that exactly the opposite happened. This was a ludicrous gamble, never likely to succeed. But now what's so worrying is that I think you see hubris on the other side with the US, with Britain, other NATO states, and to somewhat to a lesser degree the Ukrainian government, also in a triumphalist mood. They are gloating over the very real Russian defeats in northern Ukraine. And the policy objective has changed from defending Ukraine to a rather sort of messy objective, which sometimes is regime change in Moscow, or it's fighting until Crimea is returned, not to the situation before 24th of February when the war began, but the situation before 2014. The Russians will never give this up, so this is really an endless war. So what worries me is that I spent a lot of time in Syria, wars in the Middle East, Afghanistan, Iraq. It's becoming more and more like the Syrian situation, that Ukraine is becoming the arena for a war between Russia and, in the distance, the US, the NATO powers. This war, there's no reason this war should end. And while this war goes on, the whole country gets devastated. The infrastructure gets destroyed. Millions of refugees flee. This is more and more like Syria was after 2011. But I think this sort of vague triumphalism is obscuring just how dangerous and how bad the situation has become.
Oh, Patrick, could you talk about, your assessment seems, like others, very similar, in fact, to what Kissinger said, basically, quote, pursuing the war beyond that point. That is to say, the point of attempting to go to the status quo ante, that should not be an attempt, that it would not be about the freedom of Ukraine, but a new war against Russia itself. But could you explain what incentive, given that Ukraine was in fact invaded, what incentive do the Ukrainians have to give up? And equally, what incentive does Russia have, having carried out, as you say, this audacious invasion?
I don't think anybody's suggesting for a moment that the Ukrainians give up in the sense of surrender. I think that, they've heroically defended their independence. The Russian invasion really failed in the first few days. The question is rather, do you say that we should return to the status quo ante with guarantees to Ukraine? Was Russia still going to be there? We give long-term guarantees for Ukraine, and to bring this war to an end with an independent Ukraine capable of defending itself. Once you go beyond that, you actually are acting against, to my mind, the interests of Ukraine. And you put Ukraine in the position of an all-out war with Russia, which is a greater power, is not going to go away. And that's why I think you'll end up with a war very similar to the wars once witnessed in the Middle East, from Libya to Afghanistan, in which the country, which is each country has in turn been sort of devastated and has never recovered.
Patrick, what about the status of possible negotiations, with Zelensky saying earlier this week that he would only negotiate with Putin?
Well, if there are negotiations, it will probably end up like that. There were serious negotiations at the somewhat over a month ago in Turkey, in which the Ukrainians made a very serious offers that the whole issue of the Ukraine should be pushed forward. I think it was 15 years, and would not have to be resolved immediately. That means they don't have to accept they've lost Crimea, and the whole issue of Crimea should be pushed forward 15 years. So that means they don't have to discuss or give up Crimea, and the Russians don't have to say we'll never leave. So there is room for negotiations there, which I would have to say the Ukrainians are not being offered that at the moment, and both sides think they can still make gains on the ground. The battlefield still has things to offer them.
Finally, Patrick Coburn, do you think that the weapons flow from the U.S. and the West to Ukraine is exacerbating, prolonging the war?
Well, the Ukrainians need weapons. Then people trying to distinguish between defensive weapons and offensive weapons. That there isn't a great dividing line between the two. Ukrainians should clearly be armed. But then one gets to the situation, what will happen if there are lots of anti-ship missiles firing at the Russians in the Black Sea.
We have 10 seconds.
The problem is that this war is becoming another endless war, like we've seen in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria, and elsewhere, and all over the world. And most wars don't end with a decisive victory, but if it becomes an endless war, then Ukraine will be devastated.
We're going to have to leave it there. Patrick Coburn, award-winning journalist and columnist. I'm Amy Goodman with Nermeen Sheikh.
Hi, this is Felix Contreras.
That was Democracy Now!, right? So, and this is what I've been saying for, since February. This is just the beginning of a new endless war, and that it's up to it's the war of the two Vlads, because the Ukrainian president, his first name is Vlad, and Putin's first name is Vlad. It's the war of the two Vlads, right? And NATO / America / the unipolar power of the military-industrial banking state has snookered Russia into doing this, right? And my question from the very beginning was whether Vlad, Russian Vlad, was reading a script, meaning he was part of the game, or hit the switch, right? And both those guys, that's the Ukrainian president. He's an actor. He's a stand-up comedian. Anyway. They have the opportunity in the next month or so to step out of the box. If Russian Vlad would just say, okay, I'm going to stop right here. I'm not going to shoot another bullet, right? And I'm not going to shoot at you. You don't shoot at me. Just going to stay right here. And let's, Ukrainian Vlad, let's you and I go to wherever you want to go and let us talk, right? And let's work it out. And they could do that. And then both sides would win. Both sides would be heralded as peacemakers, right? But if they go longer and get more dead people and more cities blown up and more, because what's going on in Donbass is like they're churning it up to the point where it's not worth anything to anybody. Meaning, and a lot of Russians are dying, and they're losing a lot of military hardware, and they're being shown as the incompetent folk that they are militarily. So they'll have to show that they're not. So they have probably 3 weeks to try to do something outside the box and stop the war. And then it's going to go on. And the unexpected consequences, like I said, 1 billion people dead on the planet in the next, this time next year. And in the United States, at least 1 million to 10 million starving to death in America. And the same will go on in Europe. Not so much because they have, they have a different, delivery system of food and etc. Right. So we can either, go for the silver lining of the situation, and otherwise it's going to be go watch the movie Zardos. Right? Go see that. So anyway, gang, I'm gonna go off. I'm getting a little hungry. I want to do a few things before it starts to rain hard. It's right up that it's not going to rain, or it's going to rain hard. So I just wanted to say I love you. I'm glad I did this little show for you. And maybe I'll do one tomorrow. And but I'm not going nowhere. Okay. Where's my eyeballs? Do.